Hi, this is Barb from the Handbook of Nature Study. Welcome to my Watercolor Pencils 101 tutorial. I would love to share some of the techniques that I've learned over the years for using watercolor pencils in my nature journal and in artwork in general. So I've sketched out just some lettering as an example so we can try out each of the techniques. The first one I'm sure you're all familiar with is just to use the watercolor pencils and then use a wet brush to blend the color. I use Prismacolor watercolor pencils. I have for a long time. So you just color in your shape. In this case I'm using my letter S, but if you were using the watercolor pencils in your nature journal, you could just color in your flower or your tree, whatever it is you're interested in adding. Then I'm going to take a small flat watercolor brush. I got these at the art supply store. Very inexpensive. I carry one in my nature pack with my nature journal supplies. And then you're just going to brush the water on. Trying to work around the camera to get your nature journal, your colored pencil in your nature journal. The second technique is to actually dip the tip of the pencil into water. So if you carry water in your water bottle, you can pour some out into a small container and wet the tip of your watercolor pencil and work that way. That is super simple and it gives you a lot of color. It works well if you have a large space to fill in quickly too. So that's the second way, dipping the tip of the watercolor pencil into the water. I like to suggest the Prismacolor pencil sharpener. It works really well. It's a little bit big for my pack, but I use it when I'm at home, so I sharpen all my pencils before I leave home. The third technique is to use a wet brush, and you can brush your paper with water and then come back with your watercolor pencil and you get that intense color. This also works well if you want to blend colors or if you want to color in a space really fast. That's a little dry. A little more water there. But you see the intense color you get using this technique. The fourth idea is one that I was never familiar with until I saw another video online, and that is to sharpen your pencil and use the tip like a palette. So this is ingenious. You wet your brush. Oh, I always do this over a paper towel too. Or if I'm outside, I just do it over the ground, not over my paper. Oh, you can't see. I better move it over. You're using the paintbrush to get the paint onto the brush so your pencil becomes like a little watercolor palette. I thought this might ruin the watercolor pencils by wetting all these, the tips, but they dry out. So there's the fourth way. The last way is so awesome. I tend to break the tips off my watercolor pencils You can see here, they break off fairly easily. It's a softish kind of lead. So what I've started to do is just to collect those leads, and if you put them into a little container, you can actually add water to this, but I find a really good way to do this is just to take your wet brush and to use it again like a paint palette. You're wetting that pigment and then you're going straight to your paper. So it doesn't take a lot of water to kind of get that pigment going, and you don't waste all those broken tips. I think that's so awesome. So there are the 5 ways that I'm sharing in this tutorial. Don't forget that there's a free printable on my blog, handbookofnaturestudy.blogspot.com, that you can print and use for yourself and with your children to kind of practice these techniques. You will be printing it on copier paper, so you're going to have to remember that it'll turn out differently if you actually use a watercolor paper, which I'm using here in this video. So have fun and pull out all those watercolor pencils you have and give them a try.